Picture this: a gritty wrestling ring, the crowd roaring, and a man with a steely gaze stepping through the ropes, ready to dominate. That man is Greg the Hammer Valentine, a name that echoes through the annals of professional wrestling like a thunderclap. Born Jonathan Anthony Wisniewski on September 20th, 1951, in Seattle, Washington, Greg was practically born with wrestling in his veins. His father, the legendary Johnny Valentine, was a titan in the squared circle, and young Greg grew up soaking in the electric atmosphere of the sport. As a teenager, he traveled across Texas with his dad, watching the drama unfold in smoky arenas. Those early years planted a seed, and it wasn't long before Greg knew he was destined to follow in his father's footsteps. Let's dive into the wild, controversial, and unforgettable career of Greg the Hammer Valentine, a story of triumphs, scandals, and a legacy that still sparks debates among wrestling fans today. Greg's journey into wrestling wasn't a straight path. During a summer break from college, he made a life-changing decision. He dropped out and told his dad he wanted to be a wrestler. Now you'd think having a famous father like Johnny Valentine would open every door, but Johnny wasn't sold on the idea. He wanted a stable future for his son, something beyond the bruises and broken bones of the ring. But Greg was stubborn, and after some convincing, Johnny gave in. He sent Greg to Canada to train under the iconic Stu Hart, a man known for forging some of the toughest wrestlers in history. In July 1970, at just 18 years old, Greg stepped into the ring for his debut match in Calgary against Angelo King Kong Mosca. He got pinned in about 5 minutes flat, but that loss was just the spark that lit the fire. Greg was hooked, and there was no turning back. To carve his own path, Greg trained in Detroit under another legend, the Sheik, sharpening his skills and experimenting with his identity. Early on, he avoided leaning on his father's name, wrestling under aliases like Babyface Nelson and Johnny Fargo as part of the Fargo Brothers tag team. By 1974, he was ready to step out of his dad's shadow. He briefly used Johnny Valentine Jr. as a nod to his father, but soon settled on the moniker that would define him: Greg the Hammer Valentine. The name fit like a glove, tough, unyielding, and unforgettable. In 1976, Greg's career skyrocketed when he joined Jim Crockett Jr.'s Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. This was a big moment, especially since his father had been forced to retire after a devastating plane crash in 1975. Greg wasn't just filling his dad's shoes, he was kicking down doors to make his own mark. Right out of the gate, Greg turned heads. He feuded with stars like Johnny Weaver and debuted his signature top rope elbow drop, a move so brutal that promoters hyped it by showing clips of him shattering wooden boards with it. Talk about building a reputation. But the real magic happened when Greg teamed up with a young Ric Flair. Together, they were a force of nature, capturing the NWA World Tag Team Championship twice. Their matches, especially against the Anderson brothers, were the stuff of legend. In one infamous bout, Ole Anderson had to be carried out of the ring after Greg and Flair unleashed hell. Their chemistry was electric, their cocky heel personas captivating crowds who loved to hate them. Greg's hard-hitting style, combined with his knack for storytelling, made every match feel like a chapter in an epic saga. Fans couldn't get enough, but the wrestling world is never without drama, and Greg's career was no exception. In 1978, he made his first leap to the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, now WWE, managed by the flamboyant Grand Wizard. He brought his ruthless persona with him, breaking opponents' legs, literally and figuratively. He famously targeted Chief Jay Strongbow and even went toe-to-toe with WWF champion Bob Backlund in a grueling 1-hour draw at Madison Square Garden. Though his stint was brief, it added serious cred to his name. Back in the NWA by 1979, Greg's career kept climbing. He teamed with Ray Stevens to win another NWA World Tag Team Championship, but not without controversy. When a title defense was questioned over a technicality, Greg and Stevens took matters into their own hands, slicing the film evidence with a pocket knife. That's the kind of outlaw mentality that defined the Hammer. Greg's rivalry with Ric Flair also took a dramatic turn. After tricking Flair into thinking they'd reunite as a tag team, Greg betrayed him in a match, sparking a heated feud over the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship. Greg won the title only to lose it back to Flair months later. Their battles became iconic, with fans still talking about their intensity decades later. In 1981, Greg returned to the WWF, challenging Bob Backlund again for the WWF Heavyweight Championship. In one chaotic match, a dazed referee mistakenly awarded Greg the title, sending fans into a frenzy. The decision was quickly overturned, and Backlund regained the belt in a rematch, but the incident cemented Greg's reputation as a polarizing figure. He also clashed with Pedro Morales over the Intercontinental Championship, coming tantalizingly close to the top prize but never quite securing it. Over his storied career, Greg racked up over 40 championships, including the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship, the WWF Intercontinental Championship, and the WWF World Tag Team Championship. His brutal, no-nonsense style earned him a fearsome reputation. But that intensity came at a cost. Greg was known for his stiff, in-ring style. His strikes and holds were so real, they sometimes caused legit injuries. One infamous incident in 1993 involved Brian Pillman, who suffered a serious ankle injury after Greg locked in his signature figure 4 leg lock. Some say it was just Greg being Greg. Others argue he crossed a line. Either way, the injury forced Pillman to abandon his high-flying style, and the wrestling world still debates whether Greg went too far. His stiff approach added to his tough guy mystique but stirred plenty of controversy. Speaking of controversy, Greg didn't shy away from making waves outside the ring either. In 2015, he appeared on a podcast called The View from Phil Singer Games headquarters and dropped a bombshell that left jaws on the floor. He said he'd fire every female wrestler and send them to the strip bar, adding that women belong barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. Yikes. The backlash was swift and fierce. Fans, wrestlers, and the media called him out for his sexist, outdated remarks, especially at a time when women's wrestling was gaining respect with stars like Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch leading the charge. The comments painted Greg as out of touch, and many fans questioned his views on the evolving world of wrestling. If you dig into wrestling forums or articles from the time, you'll see the outrage was real. Then there's the shadow of Ric Flair. Fans and critics often compared Greg to the Nature Boy, noting their shared figure 4 leg lock, cocky heel personas, and ability to flip between hero and villain. The two even teamed up successfully in the 70s, but the comparisons dogged Greg throughout his career. He's admitted Flair influenced him, but insisted he carved out his own style. Still, the Ric Flair clone label stuck, adding another layer of complexity to his legacy. Another lingering mystery is Greg's unfinished feud with Don Morocco in 1988. Their rivalry was heating up, with fans expecting an epic showdown, but it abruptly ended with no explanation. Both wrestlers have pointed fingers over the years, but the truth remains elusive, leaving fans wondering what could have been. Despite the controversies, Greg's achievements are undeniable. In 2004, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, introduced by his former manager Jimmy Hart. The crowd erupted at WrestleMania XXX when he dedicated his plaque to his late father, saying, "This one's for you, Pop." It was a heartfelt moment that reminded everyone of the family legacy behind the Hammer. In 2016, he earned another nod with induction into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Even in the 2000s, Greg kept wrestling, competing in independent promotions and winning titles like the IWA Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Reunion in 2005. He also dabbled in real estate, showing he could dominate outside the ring too. Greg the Hammer. Valentine's career is a roller coaster of triumphs and turbulence. From his early days training under Stu Hart to his championship-laden run in the NWA and WWF, he proved he was more than just Johnny Valentine's son. His hard-hitting style, unforgettable feuds, and larger-than-life persona made him a legend. Yet his controversial comments and stiff in-ring antics sparked debates that continue to this day. Whether you see him as a trailblazer or a polarizing figure, there's no denying his impact on wrestling. His story is a testament to the unpredictable, chaotic, and thrilling world of professional wrestling, a world where heroes and villains blur and legacies are built in the ring. What's your favorite Greg Valentine moment? Drop it in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more epic wrestling stories.